Now, today our discussion is on very important part of our data characteristics, that is how to measure what are the important things the data is communicating to us. So what are the characteristics by which we can compare that this data is showing me this thing or this data is showing me this thing. So today our discussion will be related to two data characteristics and how to measure with that we are going to discuss today. So the descriptive measure, that is that how to measure that data values, how to measure the data characteristics. That is a major issue which we are going to address today. You know that up to now you have seen that we have presented the data in the form of frequency distribution, in the form of frequency curves, in the form of photographs also, in the form of tabular format also. Yes, that data is able to tell us, that data is able to give us certain information. But if we can say, if we want to find out the summary of the data, or we want to compare the two data sets, or we want to assess that, then that tabular presentation or frequency distribution or frequency curve is of limited use. So summary of data is in the form of a single number that describes the data in totality. This single number is named as characteristics or parameters or properties of the data. Most commonly we use the word parameters, because parameter is a single value that tells us about the data in totality. There are different types of parameters are there, and we can use for the meaningful interpretation of the data all those parameters which you measure it from the different formulas. So this type of single number, or you can say summary of the data, is called summary statistics. Now from these parameters or characteristics, we can compare easily the different data set in a much better way, because we know, because one single value of one data set, one single value of another data set, we can immediately understand which one is bigger, which one is lower, which one is equal or not. So it means this parameter gives us a good tool to make a better decision about the data in place of data itself. So what the data is showing us in the form of presentation, in place of that, this parameter helps us to take a better decision about the data. So there are three major characteristics of the data is, number one is central tendency, then variability, then asymmetry. What are these? What do you mean by this? That will do one by one. Basically, we measure these characteristics by using measure of central tendency, and this central tendency help us in computing central tendency, the central value. Where is the center of the data? Then this variability. This variability is being measured by known as measure of dispersion. That is how the data is spread over that is lower limit and upper limit, how it is being spread over. Then asymmetry. Asymmetry is being measured by two factors. One is measure of skewness and one is measure of kurtosis. So central tendency are giving me the centermost value. Dispersion is giving us the variability exists in the data. How much data is homogeneous and how much data is heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means more variability, homogeneous means less variability. And asymmetry, that is where this data is moving. So these four measures we are going to do one by one. First one is central tendency. Now it gives the best representative of the data. That is where the concentration of data is maximum, or the central or middle point of the data. It is also called at measure of location, because where it is located, where is the maximum concentration of the data, so that is the central tendency, that is the measure of location. Let's see, there are two types of graphs I am going to show you. There is one curve and this is second curve. So you can clearly say at this point the maximum data is there within this range. Let's take another curve. Again, the maximum data is within this range, highest data. So just we compare the four curves, AB and CD. So we can say the maximum concentration of the curve A and B is at C1. Here is the maximum concentration for both the curve. And curve for C and D, the maximum concentration is at this point C2. So mostly data is concentrated on this. Now here we can conclude that measure of central location or central tendency for curve A and B is same. But similarly for curve C and D, it is also same. But the central location of A and B and central location of C and D, it is here, and central location of A and B is here, that is less than 10, you can see, and here it is more than 10. So C1 and C2, they are different. So although both the curves are equal, they are centrally located and data is at the center, highly concentrated C2 at C1, but still this curve C and D are same and A and B are same, but A and B and C and D are different on the basis of central location. So thus the measure of central tendency is a single value. So it is giving us a tool to compare the different data sets. Then coming to the measure of dispersion. Now dispersion is giving us the scatterness or variability in the data. That is how the data is spread over. So this dispersion, with the help of that, we are checking the variability and scattering of the data. If the variability or scatterness of the data is more, so it means measure of dispersion will also be more in comparison to those data with have less variation. If variability is less, so it means dispersion is less. If variability is more, dispersion is more. Just see. Here the dispersion is. Here the dispersion is. Just compare that both the curves, central location is same, concentration is same, but variability its variability is from x1 to x2, its variability from x3 to x4. So now we just compare the curve A and B. So scatterness of curve is from A is x1 to x2 and scatterness of B is from x3 to x4. So it means that curve B is more scattered or contains more variation than dataset A. So this curve is B is having more scatterness than curve A. So in common language we can say if scatterness is less, then data is more homogeneous. If scatterness is more, then data is less homogeneous or maybe heterogeneous. Next comes skewness. It is a characteristic which conveys the information about that in which direction the data is having more concentration. There are two directions you have just seen, left side and right side, from its central value. So from its central value, it is concentration is more on the right side or concentration is more on the left side. If we compare the curve C and D, it is very much clear that central tendency and just see C and D curve, very important. Just see, central location is same, we can say, and if you just compare x7 and x8 is equal to x5 and x6. So dispersion, scatterness is more same in both the curve. That's why I colored it. So you can identify the curve C and D easily. But if you just see, this curve over C is more on the right hand side and this curve D is more concentrated on the left hand side. It is more flatter than this side from its center value. Just see, from center value D is moving like this and left side it is covering more area, and similarly curve C on left side is covering less data, less values or less area, and on the right hand side it is more. So now I think you are able to understand the skewness, how this skewness is affected. So because the shape of the curve is telling us that they are in a different direction. So it means that they are same on the basis of mean, both the curves C and D, that is the center location is same, and number two, the dispersion, the variability in the data is same, both the curve, but still they are different on the basis of in which direction the concentration is more, that is skewness. So where now we can compare our center value is same, dispersion is same, but where, in which direction this curve is skewed is different. So these two curves are different. We can't say these curves are same. Next one is kurtosis. Now kurtosis refers to the peakness of the data. Let's see. Just see this curve. Now this curve, all values are centered on the three curves. Center value is same and dispersion for all the three curves are exactly same. Is it or not? Just see. As well as variability, skewness, that is in which direction they are skewed, it is also same, both are equally distant, but still there is a difference. So on the three characteristics they are same, but if you just see the peakness, all the three curves are different. So curve G, E and F, they are different. Center value is C3 and dispersion is x9, x10. It is same for all the three curves. So now you can say this fourth measure completely gave us the another dimension to our data, that one that three data set are showing three values are same, but on this dimension they are different. Now how to measure it? What are the different methods of measuring the central tendency, the central value? Number one, there are mathematical average. Number two, locational or positional average. You are just in the height of that curve. That also plays a very important role. So on the basis of mathematical average, there are three categories: arithmetic mean or average, then geometric mean, then harmonic mean. And on the basis of positional averages, there is locational averages, partition values and mode. And partition values, it is a category of median, it is quartiles, it is deciles and percentiles. We will cover all these things one by one, don't worry. We'll solve the problems related to this. Now first of all, we are going to measure the central tendency. That is the first one. Now what is the, why we say the central tendency is good? What should be the criteria of that? Number one, it should be rigidly and clearly defined without any ambiguity. There should not be any confusion. We should know where is the central value lies. It should be easy to calculate, easy to understand and have unique interpretation. Now just see that you have seen these 5 curves, and as you can immediately from the curves itself you can find out that it is clearly we can interpret that the A and B curve have the same center location, C and D curve have the same center location, and the third diagram we will see E, F, G, and where there all the 3 curves are at the same center location. The next criteria is, for the next property we can say for the center tendency, it uses all the observation and has no effect of extreme observation. What do you mean by extreme observation? In the following we'll take an example. What do you mean by the extreme observation? How this extreme observation play a role? What it stands for? That will do it. Then fluctuation of sampling should not affect. That we have done sampling. You know the different methods of sampling. So whatsoever the sampling we are getting it should not be much affected. That is, different sample of same data should give approximately same value. But mind it, if it is a homogeneous one. If it is a heterogeneous one, then it will give a different values. It can be used for further investigation. That is, if we want to do more mathematical operation to generate something more, that we should be able to do that. So let's we see one by one. First one is arithmetic mean or average. Normally we call it average, is denoted by x bar, and the observations are represented by x1, x2, xn. And this is, as you can say, average, you say arithmetic mean, you say mean. It is one and the same thing. If we are calculating the mean from the sample data, sample observation, then is known as sample mean. Just when we are doing sampling, so we are finding the mean of that. And if it is calculated from population, then it is called population mean. For sample mean, it is denoted by x bar, and for population mean, it is denoted by mu. This symbol mu. Now there are different type of data are there. For unorganized or organized data, the arithmetic mean is given by x bar. This is x bar is equal to sum of observation divided by number of observation, and sum of observation are x1, x2 plus xn divided by number of observation n. So where xi's are n observation. Now, let the noise level at 5 different locations on a stretch are 65, 75, 54, 80 and 69 decibel. Find the mean. So simple. You can do yourself also. Now for discrete or ungrouped frequency distribution. For ungrouped frequency distribution, mind it, we already done. What do you mean a group frequency distribution or discrete or ungrouped, alt or continuous frequency distribution, organized or unorganized data in our previous lecture. You just can refer those lectures. So for ungrouped frequency distribution, X bar is given by sum of Xi Fi and divided by sum of Fi, where Fi is nothing but a frequency corresponding to each observation Xi. So for each observation Xi, its corresponding frequencies is Fi, and sum of frequency is known as capital N. So by this formula we can compute. Let's do this question. Let the household size of 100 households in a zone are as follows. Household sizes, then family members are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and number of households, or how much, this much. So how to do that? So first of all, compute multiplication of Xi Fi, 20, 36, 100, 65, 120, 105 and 40, and total of all this is 486, and total of frequency is 100. So this is our capital N and this is our summation of Xi and Fi. Let's put the value in the formula. Small n is 8, there are 8 observations. So Xi Fi is 486 and observations are 100. Capital N is 100. So it is approximately 4.86, or we can say it is a 5 also. So average, because household cannot be in a household size cannot be in a decimal, so we can say approximately the household size of this zone is 5. Now for group frequency distribution, in group frequency distribution, first of all this we used to calculate the mid values, and then we again the formula is same. For as we have done it for ungrouped frequency distribution, the formula is exactly same. Let's see in this example. The trip length frequency distribution of 50% is as follows. So trip length is given in meter. So first of all, calculate this mid value, and number of person are 50. So frequency is given. So this Xi multiplied by Fi, 300, 150 multiplied by 5, 750, 250 multiplied by 8, 2000, then 5250, 3150, 330 and 1950, and total works out to be 16700. So the same formula is there. Put this value into the data. Sum of Xi Fi, 16,700 divided by 50, that is 334 meters. So this is the average of this. This is the mean of this. Sometimes when a frequency distribution is big or contains non-integer values, or class intervals are also not defined or not equal or equal width, then one can use shortcut method. What is that shortcut method? X bar is equal to A plus, formula is same, but here it is Di, not Xi. What is this Di? Di is Xi minus A. A is any arbitrary value among the range of value Xi, and Xi is the midpoint of the class interval, as we already know that. So this we are choosing any A from the value of Xi, and then we are dividing and using this formula. So there we are normally we are using this, then their class intervals are also not equal width. So let's take this example. The daily earning of 100 workers are classified with unequal class intervals. Now calculate average daily earning. So what is the class interval here? 50, 60, 60, 70, 70, 80, 10. Here is 20. Class width is 20. Here class width is 30. Number of workers are 100. They are distributed according to this. So let's do this question. Let's take A is equal to 90. Arbitrary value, any value between this value. It is suggested to take better the centralmost values. The value which is appearing the centermost is advisable that you take that value. So frequencies are given. So midpoints are being calculated: 55, 65, 75, 90, 110, 135. So from this midpoint, we have taken this value A 90. You can also take 75. Nobody stop you. Result will be same. So di is equal to xi minus A, xi minus 90 is minus 35, minus 25, minus 15, 0, 20 and 45. Now this di multiply by fi minus 350, 15 multiply by minus 25 minus 375, minus 15 multiply by 22 minus 330, then 0, then 260 and 675, and total is minus 120. So x bar is A. What is A? Is our 90. We have chosen the central values of this plus, it is a plus, but sum of DIFI is negative. So sum of DIFI is minus 120 divided by 100. So 90 minus 1.2, that is 88.8 rupees. So we can say that average income is, the mean income is 88.8 rupees or 90 rupees. We can say very safely, or 89 rupees. If class intervals are equal size, then we can use also this formula. We again reduce you can say computation. Here the computation is so simple. We have taken very simple examples. But if data is really heavy, then we can do some errors also. So then this type of shortcut formulas are available. A, we already explained, is the arbitrary value among the xi. So here the di is xi minus A divided by h. H is common magnitude of class interval. That's what we say, class interval should be of equal size. For unequal class, this formula won't work. So h is a common magnitude of the interval. So di is equal to xi minus A, and xi is the midpoint of this class interval. So computed xi bar is equal to A plus h summation of I is 1 to DIFI divided by capital N, sum of frequencies. Let's take the example of this. The household data reveals that daily expenditure on transportation by 100 families is as follows. Calculate the average daily expenditure on transportation. Now daily earning 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 20 rupees, 30 rupees, 30 rupees, 40 rupees, and number of workers are 100, which are distributed like this. So first of all, we have to find out the midpoints xi. So midpoint xi is being calculated: 15, 25, 35, 45, 65 and 75. So let's take A is equal to 45. Here it is very easy to choose A because these are in odd numbers. If an even number, then it is a little bit we have to take one of them. But here it is a 45 is a central most value. So A is a 45. So, and we divide it with what? We divide it with the magnitude of the class. What is the magnitude of the class? Is 10, 30, 40, 56. So xi minus 45 divided by 10. So these are of xi. It works out to minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now you see our calculation reduce up to the big, it makes a sense because our calculation reduced very heavily. If you just see that in place of this, these are in 1000, then multiplying, adding, etc. It is a very heavy calculation. Although you can use calculator, you can use now Microsoft Excel to solve this problem, or Google spreadsheet to solve this problem, that is available. But you must know how the formula is to be applied. So x bar is equal to A is 45 plus H is 10 magnitude of the data. Then sum of DIFI is -1 divided by total frequency. So 45 plus 10 into -1 by 100, that is 45 minus 10 by 100. That is 45 minus 0.1, that is 44.9 rupees. So we can say on the average again 45 rupees is coming. So what are the other properties of character or mean? The mean is having very interesting properties. The first property is you cannot calculate the mean when the data is having open-ended class interval. What do you mean by open-ended class interval? You remember that is, if in place of 10 nothing is there, in place of 80 nothing is there, then means it is an open-end class interval, so we cannot compute. Now the sum of deviation of given set of data, if is taken around mean, is always be 0. Sum of xi minus x bar has to be equal to 0. Similarly for this formula, fi into xi minus x bar is equal to 0. And third one, the sum of square of deviation of a given set of data, if taken around mean, is minimum when compared with any other number. So sum of square of this when we taken around mean is less than if we are taken around any other number A, because this gives us the minimum value. Similarly for frequencies, it is also there. Number 4, it is highly affected by the extreme values or extremely skewed data. If first data and last data is very heavy now, just see that we have the noise reading in decibel 45, 48, 50, 46 and 90. Here these 4 values are almost same, very less difference, but this is very big, 90. Now we take the average of noise of the city, it comes out to be 55.8 decibel. Just see, only one place, only one data set has spoiled the whole game. Otherwise it is very comfortable. That maybe it may be around is 47 average, and there is a difference between 47 and 56. So it means that it is affected by extreme values. Let's take the fifth one example. Let xi bar, that is 1 to m, are the mean of m data set. Xi we have taken means of m data set of size ni respectively from a population. That is, from the population you can draw different samples and you can draw the different means. Then n1 x bar 1, n2 x bar 2. This is n1 related with this observation for computing x bar 1. N2 number of observation are computed used for x bar 2, and similarly nm and xm bar. You see, mean of m data set of size ni's. So it's sum of observation n1 plus n2 plus nm. This x bar is equal to sum of I is going to m ni x bar I, or sum I is going to m ni by xi. So I can say we are taken as different samples. Now to make the uniformity, I have computed another mean from all those samples, so that I can say that all the samples are neutralized with each other. So I am getting a one common mean which is applicable to the whole population if the population is very big, because different samples will definitely give the different means. So how can I justify them? Next, the arithmetic mean can be misinterpreted if other parameter we are not considering. How? What it means? Now you see that road capacity. Sometime we will see that our data, how much the road capacity is being used. And if we take the average of the whole day, it will work out to be that road capacity is used only 25%. So you can immediately remark that this road is unutilized or underutilized. Sorry, underutilized. So unnecessary you make a road of higher capacity. But I will just compare that peak hour traffic. The peak hour traffic, it will be then road capacity utilization will be 100%. So mind it, the road capacity is being created on the basis of peak hour traffic. So the peak demand. And but we take out the average of the traffic, that is day traffic is naturally more, peak hour traffic is definitely more for the non-peak hours, and the night traffic is almost nil. So if you take the average of a traffic flow, that will give us a wrong picture. So in that case we have to take what you call the peak hours. So the peak hour, from where which data we have to use it for the mean for taking decisions, that is very important. We should not go blindly. We should not take that we must see use the formula straightforward. We have to use our brain as a planner, that which type of data, which sample we should use it. That gives the true picture of the data. Now another misinterpretation is, now if there is a need of two doors of average 6 feet, and supplier size, supplier has given you two door 4 feet and 8 feet, and the average is 6 feet. So can you fit into that? You cannot use it. There is a big joke. That is a statistician who used to say that I am a big statistician, and he is having a family. One children is 4 feet high. One second children is 5 feet high. He himself is 6 feet, 6 points more, and his wife is also about 6 feet. So then he has seen, that is that water level in a river is around 5 feet or 5.5 feet. Then he has calculated the average height of his family. Average height of the family comes out to be 5 is more than 5 feet, 5.5 feet. Naturally 5 plus 4 is how much? 9. 9 plus 12, how much? Just calculate. 21. Now 21 by 4, how much? Then 5.2. So he feels that his average height of his family is 5 feet 2 inches, and water is flowing at the height of 5 feet, or so we are very safe, we can cross the river. So the statistician took his family to cross the river, and when they crossed the river, so the child which are 4 feet was not there. So then he was weeping that where it is, because he has not calculated correctly, he has not used the correct measure. The 4 feet boy is nowhere, has gone with the water. So we can use the average in the wrong way also. So how you are, if you use it in such a way, then it is your mistake. So that's what I say, statistics is very dangerous. It is not so easy to apply it, to use it so easily. The next one is, arithmetic mean cannot be computed if one observation is missing. And for qualitative data, it is of no use. We cannot use for the qualitative data. In any one observation is missing, just see that if there are open-end classes, we can't compute it like this. So this is another property of arithmetic mean. Now coming to other type, the weighted mean. This is another concept. Now you see that data, just to say that what the data is saying, to whom we are giving more weightage, what the data is telling us. Now just see, this is a training fees for a pilot. A pilot is being given for 10-hour training at the fees of 100 rupees per hour for theoretical classes, and for a ground training for 4 hours 150 rupees per hour, and on simulator 300 rupees per hour for 6 hours, and actual flight training only for 2 hours and is paid 2000 rupees per hour. So total is spent 2550 rupees per hour, we can say. We just simply take the average or total of that, and he spent 22 hours. Can we say what is the average cost of training per hour? Here, just see, it is very difficult question. If you straightforward use the formula, you will also face the same fate what that Steadician family has faced. Just see how to do that, because just see the actual flight training is very, very important in comparison to rest of the 3 trainings. Just see, if we calculate the simple average method, 100 rupees plus 150 plus 300 plus 2000, 4 hours, because for 1 hour 100 rupees we are paying 150 rupees, 300 rupees, 2000 rupees per hour. So 4 hours, it comes out to be 637 rupees 50 paisa, we can say, because we are ignoring the purpose, we are ignoring the important part of this data. So for that purposes we have to use the weighted means. So in this case the highest weight is being given to actual flight training, highest. Let's see, the formula is XWI, XW is I is going 1 to n, WI XI divided by sum of I is going to n, WI. So WI is the weight given to the observation, XI I is going 1 to n. So what are the weights we are giving it? So here weights are hours. We are taking this as a weight. So 100 minus 100 multiplied by 10 plus 150 multiplied by 4 hours and 150 rupees, 300 rupees for 6 hours and 2000 rupees for 2 hours trading, and total is sum of weight 10 plus 4 plus 6 plus 2, it works out to be 336.36 rupees. So average cost of trading per hour, it works out to be 336 rupees per hour in place of 637 rupees. So that's how we have to use the correct formula for computing the bean. We should not use the wrong formula, and if we do it, again we are on the wrong step. Now another example. Now the survey data shows the average earning per hour in government service and in private service in zone A and B are as follows. Government service number persons are 110, in private service there are 320 in zone A, and earning there are 18 rupees and 15 rupees. In zone B there are 300 employees in government and 710 in private sector, and they are earning rupees 21 per hour and rupees 81 per hour. Can we say that average hourly earning of both the zone are same or not? For zone A, again we have to use the weighted average. For zone A, N1 x bar, N2 x2 bar, N1 is 110, N2 is 320, x bar 1 is 18, x2 bar is 15. That we are taking earning per hour. So it works out to be 15 rupees 767 rupees per hour. And similarly for zone B, again weighted hours we are taking it. It works out to be 18 rupees 89. That is 300 multiplied by 21, 710 multiplied by 18 and plus 300 plus 710. So we can say yes, definitely zone B is better than zone A as far as payment is concerned. It may be a different district, it may be a different state, it may be different countries. That's how we should compare with that. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of mean? The advantage is it is very easy to calculate and understand, and it is considering all the observation, and normally everybody knows this and define very properly. Everybody know what is the mean, what is our average, what is the average cost. Mostly people knows that. Maybe they have learned statistics or not, it is immaterial. This mean, we can use it for further mathematical treatment, and it is unique. There is only one answer. The same data is having only one mean, not two mean or three mean, and is very useful when we are comparing different set of data. And disadvantage, for quantity, we can only use for quantitative data. We cannot calculate for qualitative data, but it is affected by extreme values. That is outlier. You remember that I have shown you the outlier in our previous presentation of the graphical presentations, and that cannot be calculated for frequency distribution with open and class interval. That is another problem. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of mean. Next we will go for the next measure of central tendency, which is known as mode. It is related to the location and refers to the observation. That is, the mode is telling us which value is occurring more frequently in comparison to other observation. So mean is a central value, and here this telling us mode is that which value is appearing maximum number of time, more number of time, and normally we are using for the production or manufacturing process. Let's take example. Now a shirt manufacturer wants to manufacture the shirts. So which size of the shirt he should create, or he should prepare more. So for that purposes, he has collected the data and then see the market, which size is being purchased by the people. 80 centimeter size, 100 centimeter, 85, 90, 100, 100, 90, 85, 70, 100, 100, 05, 110 and 80. So one clearly can say the 100 centimeter shirt is in more demand in comparison to other size. So once he has to manufacture the shirt, so he will manufacture or he will focus more on 100 centimeter size in comparison to other. He is not stopping the other size also. It does not mean that he will not build it. He will also make it the shirts of other size, but more number of shirts will be 100 centimeter. It should not be that he is making 1000 shirts of 100 number, so he will also make size number 80 1000. No, he will make a differentiation. Then how many 80, how many 100 according to the proportion, according to the demand. So then he is computing the mode, then he can calculate. And if he has calculated the mean, then what the mean should have come up? You just sum up all this value, that value comes out to be 1295 divided by 14, so 92.5. So this mean is of no use to the manufacturer. So he cannot create a shirts of 92.5, that all the shirts he should make 92.5, as the tradition has done the mistake by crossing the river. So you can also say that everybody should wear 92.5. So person whose size is 100 centimeter, he can't wear. The person whose size is 85 or 80, he can't. Every time he will look like a joker. So that is a difficulty. So in that case, mean will not work, mode will work. That's another type of example. Data may have two or more modes also. So in this data set, 5 is appearing 2 times, 7 is appearing 2 times, So we can say there are two modes in this data, 5 and 7. And in this data set, no one is repeating itself. So it means it does not have a mode, or it have all are mode, we can say. So one is the same thing, no mode or all are have the modes. Now computing the mode for ungrouped frequency distribution. Now we are conducting a household survey, and we try to find out what is the requirement of different size of flats. Then how many bedrooms are in demand. If I have to make some building plan, I have to make a building, then what should be the ideal, you can say, number of bedroom one should offer. So they have done a survey of different 100 families. They obtained the number of bedrooms 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So they are having the different flat size. So but at a manufacturer you cannot make as a wish and will of everything, but we have to make it as something which is standard, which the maximum people like it. And for special needs, then you can have a separate scheme for them. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, or one goes for 5 bedroom, one goes for bigger than, that is a separate housing plan. So let's see. This method is a little bit, you can say, time consuming little bit. Here we are preparing number of various columns. In the first column, here we are taking the frequency distribution itself. Then along with the first column, we prepare a second column. And the second column, we group two consecutive frequencies from first frequency distribution. Let's see how. Now number of bedrooms required, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And number of household, 10, 15, 25, 18, 5, 2, 1. So we prepare now column number 2. In column number 2, we take 10 plus 15, 25. Then 25 plus 18, take 43. Then 5 plus 2, 7. Leave this alone. No need. You don't require it. Now prepare a third column. Here again grouping of two consecutive frequency, but leaving the first one. While preparing this, we will left this guy. But now in this column, we again take a group of this. Now we leave the first person, the first value. Now 15 plus 25 is 40. 18 plus 5, 23. And 2 plus 1, 3, like this. In next column, number 4, what we used to do? We used to take 3 values simultaneously. 10 plus 50 plus 25, just see, this way and this way, that is 50. So next 3 values, 8 plus 5 plus 2, how much it will be? 25. So this is left alone. Then we go create another column number 5. So in this we leave first observation, then 15 plus 25 plus 8. Now we club these 3 values, it works out to be 58. Now the one which we left out now is being added into this. 5 plus 2 plus 1, it works out to be 8. And next column we prepare it, again we are leaving 2 observation now. So in this 25 plus 18 plus 5. So total is 48. So we don't have now more values. We don't have 3 values. So I can't use the formula for 3 values. So here we have to leave it. So this total I am obtaining it. Now take this maximum value of this data of each column. In the first column, the highest value is 25. In second column, highest is 43. In third column, highest 40. Fourth column, 50. Fifth column, 58. And sixth column, 48. So let's we put it in this manner. First column, sorry, it is a 25, not first column 25. By mistake it is 23. Just see. In this column, first column, 4 is appearing, 1. In second column, which numbers are appearing? 4 and 5. In second column, 4 and 5 is appearing. Max value is 43. Next one, that is R in the 40. Which one is appearing? Which one is appearing? Tell me. 3 and 4 or 4 and 5. In third way, we are putting 40, that is 3 and 4 column is appearing. In the fourth column, the 3 values are there, 2, 3, 4. So 2, 3 is appearing. What is the value appearing? 50. 50 is appearing. Then fifth column, 58 value is appearing, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 4, 5 is showing. Then the sixth column, 48 is appearing. Which value it will take? 4, 5, 6. So 4, 5, 6 is appearing. So number of time observations are appearing: 1 time, 3 time, 6 time, 3 time and 1 time. So this is only error. In place of 26 should be 25. So we can say 4 is appearing maximum number of time, 6 number of time. So the bedroom size, 4 bedroom flat is in a more demand than other sizes. So as a housing authority, we can take a decision that we should make more houses than for 4 houses of bedroom 4 size. Now for continuous frequency distribution, the formula is mode is equal to L plus H F1 minus F0 2 F1 minus F0 F2. What is L? L is the lower limit of model class. H is the class width of the model class. F1 is the frequency of model class. F0 is frequency of preceding model class. F2 is frequency of succeeding model class. And where a model class is a class interval which is having maximum frequency. So where frequency is maximum, that is a model class. Let's see. In a particular zone, the different size of parks are given. Now calculate both. So park size in square meter, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 78, 80 or 90. One number of plots are. So which one the maximum number of frequency? 16. So 16 in the model class is 16 to 17. So maximum frequency is 16. So model class is 16 to 17. And what is L? The lower limit of the model class, that is 16. Then width of the class is 10. F1 is preceding the model class and F2 is falling to that class, and F0 is the frequency, maximum frequency, that is 16. So F0 is, sorry, I have spoken other way. F0 is frequency preceding model class. F1 is the frequency of model class. So F1 is 16, F0 is 10 and F2 is 12. That is after the model class. So works out to be 60 plus 10 into 16 minus 10, and using the value in the formula, it works out to be 66. So we can say that 66 square meter plot is the maximum the people, or the maximum size of the people love it. So you can have a 60 meter plot or 70 meter park is much stable for that locality. And for group frequency distribution, we can also calculate the mode from the histograms. Very easy. So first of all, we draw the histograms, very easy. And then now take this top corners. Just meet this this corner with this value, make a straight line. And similarly, from this corner to this corner, that is from the tallest bar, we are taking the topmost value. My drawing is not so good. And the intersection of this, that gives us the value. So we draw a line from this intersection point, and that will be our mode. So this is our mode. There is 66 around. So from the task bar we are connecting this value with the is further bar and this top with the previous bar, and from the intersection we are calculating the mode. Now data collected from a shoe manufacturer, calculate the mode, and here the shoe size 6 and 8 both are appearing maximum number of times, and we just plot so it means that this is bimodal curve. There are two modes and this is known as bimodal distribution. So here there are two modes, that is, what are those two modes? You can say at 6 and 8 which is appearing, so that shoe number 6 and 8 is the maximum in demand. So in this case it is, and if there are more than two modes then it is a multi-modal, but after that it is of no use, because if tri-mode we are going or 4-mode we are going, then there is no use, it does not give us much better proposition to use it. Now compare the advantage and disadvantage of mode. The first advantage of this, that is applicable for qualitative as well as quantitative data, not affected by extreme observation whatsoever it is. We can compute it for a distribution with open-end classes also, which mean can also be obtained graphically, but disadvantages are not based on all observation, which arithmetic mean was, not capable of further mathematical treatment. This is the biggest hurdle. We cannot use mode for further stages, and mode is not necessarily unique, while arithmetic mean is unique and is not rigidly defined. That is another issue. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of mode. So we are able to conclude today the two central tendency, the measure of central tendency, mean and mode. I hope that is very simple. You have done it in your 11th class or 10th class, but still it is a type of a revision. You can do that, and although you can calculate by using Microsoft Excel or Google or worksheet, that is a separate issue. Okay, by this, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.